till you go down for a nap and then bring you back? I think that's what's gonna happen. This little guy is too squirrely. He's too squirrely. I was gonna start this video, but even though he just ate, I think he wants to eat again and probably needs another diaper change. Do it all again. Okay, let's go. We'll be back. Okay, I think we're all right. Baby's here. And he's semi-calmed down. I haven't filmed in a long time, and I certainly haven't filmed with this little guy around. Or outside of my womb, that is, because I filmed a lot with him inside, and he's kind of a squirrely boy right now, still. Kind of a squirrel. That's my nickname for him. So this video is gonna be all over the place, but I mean, I think that's just how my life is gonna be from now on, is all over the place. Content is gonna look a little bit different. It's taken me a really long time just to feel somewhat normal. We had family here for a long time, so it's not like I necessarily had the time or the energy to film. It's been 3 weeks since I gave birth to this little guy, so it's taken me a while of just like recovering and resting. Filming and all that stuff was just not on the radar, which I'm sure most of you guys can relate to, just needing to rest and recover after giving birth. Like that's a crazy event. And my birth was pretty crazy, which I'll share a little bit about it in this video. Oh, you're working through something? I'm so proud of you. Good. Is that why you've been a squirrel? Should we give him some privacy? Let's give him some privacy. Okay, we'll be back again, folks. All right, you guys, we're back. I think we're better now. That's just how life goes with a newborn. I'm getting used to it, getting used to my schedule being messed up. My schedule not even being a schedule, just like completely reliant on him. But anyways, this little man is Elliot Elijah. He was born on November 26th, which was a day after his due date. My app said my due date was the 25th. Ultrasounds were saying the 26th. So he was either born on his due date or a day after. You guys, this is my little rainbow baby. I've waited so long for him. And so many of you guys prayed over this little guy while he was growing. He has been the picture perfect baby. There was so much fear that I had involving pregnancy and birth, and I feel like God has been very gracious throughout this pregnancy and throughout this little guy's life. There's been so much protection over his life, and I can tell that the prayers were heard, the prayers were answered, and he is safe, he is healthy, he is a strong boy. He is growing so well, and I'm so thankful for that. But yeah, I don't know how this video is going to be because I'm just kind of updating you guys on where I've been. Obviously, I haven't filmed in over a month due to just getting used to having a baby and my life being so completely and drastically different. This video is all over the place, just like my life. You'll have to excuse me, as this video is just going to be a hodgepodge. I hope I can update in some capacity. My brain just can't totally fathom what's going on right now. I have been a lot more MIA on YouTube just because the time and the effort to film and edit and upload videos, I just don't have that time. Like, my time is so limited and broken up because of him and his needs right now, which is just the season that we're in. I have been more active on my Instagram. For those of you that maybe didn't know, I did go back on Instagram after quitting social media for like 2 years. And so I've been updating on that pretty regularly because it's just so much easier to take a snapshot of something throughout the day rather than sit down like I'm trying to do right now and getting interrupted 100 times over. I think it would be fun to just kind of vlog what life looks like right now with a newborn, which it's just crazy. It's not as bad as I thought. it was going to be. I had so many fears with postpartum and birth and childbearing, all that kind of stuff. I had a lot of fears. That's why it took me so long to actually have a child and surrender that area of my life over to the Lord and the Lord's will, because there was just a lot of fear. And I will say that the newborn phase is not nearly as bad as I envisioned it to be. I really envisioned it to be a nightmare, and it's challenging for sure, but it's not nearly as hard or as rough as I thought it was going to be. And there is a lot of sweet moments in the newborn phase that I've been really enjoying, like all the snuggles and the cuddles. Like, it's truly so comforting to me to have this little boy really need me. And then on the flip side, I don't get a break because he needs me. So it's a twofold thing. It's a blessing and also a challenge at the same time. So I guess I'll share a little bit about my birth. I won't share everything because there's just certain things that I don't necessarily want to share. I didn't vlog it for a reason. I never wanted to vlog it. Everybody's birth story is so drastically different. My birth was not anything like I expected it to be. And not to say this to scare anybody, because like I said, I was terrified of all this stuff. And I will say, holding my baby right now, it's worth it. It is 100% worth it. So even if I have a more negative birth story, it's still worth it. It's still worth it. In a lot of senses, my birth didn't have complications that would have made it even worse. So in that regard, like, I do feel blessed, but it was pretty crazy still for me, and what I experienced was really tough. So many people can judge or think that their experience was worse or better or whatever. Mine was tough. And even not last night, but one of the nights recently, I was kind of having some nightmares about it again. So I'm still processing a lot of it because it wasn't anything like I thought it was going to be. I had read tons of books and prepped just kind of mentally, spiritually for what birth might be. I had an expectation that it was going to be fairly long, with this being my first baby. Usually your first baby, you labor the longest. So I was prepping for that. I was kind of excited to labor at home for as long as possible. I had a vision of what it would be like to have a lot of contractions at home and just like go through the process, feel the things, and that's definitely not what I had. The night of the 25th, I started feeling like kind of period type cramps, which I had felt kind of off and on for probably the last week before he came. I had never experienced a contraction, so I didn't know what I was looking for. And at a certain point, I was like, I should maybe time these cramps, I guess, because it seems like they're kind of off and on. It was hard for me to gauge what exactly was happening with my body. And so when I was timing them on my app, they were immediately 3 minutes apart, and my app was like, go to the hospital. So it was kind of like a, oh shoot moment, like this is really happening. We called, told them what was happening. They, said that, they'll let my midwife know, she'll show up at the hospital. So we got to the hospital, and contractions were tough, you guys. Like, I think especially because I'd never really got to warm up much. Like, everything was progressing so quickly. I was trying my breathing techniques that I was learning about and all that kind of stuff, and it just seemed like I was always behind. Like, I was always 1 step or 2 steps or even like 5 steps behind what my body was doing. And I was just trying really hard mentally to be in that moment and there. And so once I got to the hospital, things were still like rapidly progressing. Once I got to the labor and delivery room, Like they set me up, my midwife wasn't there yet, so I had like a few contractions there. I got into a position that I liked better, which was on my knees, because I really didn't want to labor on my back. So I was like on my knees, kind of propped up with my arms on the head of the bed, as the bed was like kind of raised up like this. And that's kind of how I wanted to labor. That's how I wanted to have the baby, because I knew that gravity would help me. So I got into that position pretty quickly, and it seemed like shortly after I got into that position, contractions got really intense. Like all of a sudden I was like, whoa, like I can't even breathe through these. My midwife wasn't there yet, none of the nurses were in the room, and I was just like, Nick, like you people need to be in here. Like this is not this is, I didn't know what to expect, but I was like, I feel like people need to be here. This is getting hard. This is getting like really intense. I felt super nauseous at that point as well. I never actually threw up, which is almost worse because you don't get like that relief. But I was so nauseous. I was overheating like crazy. And I think that also made me feel nauseous too, of like how hot I felt. And eventually Nick was like putting towels, wetting towels, putting them in the fridge, and then putting them on my back or putting them somewhere on me to cool me down. My midwife finally showed up. I felt like my body at that point had already just like started pushing. Like things were going very fast. Very fast. I was in the pushing stage for the longest, which was it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. And I remember just the mental game that I was having. I was like praying, oh Lord, like this is not, you know, I remember thinking this is not what I wanted. I use this word to describe it to a friend, but I was like, it felt more barbaric than beautiful, if that makes sense. Like it felt just like wild and uncontrolled. Not that like I was screaming or anything like that. Just like what was happening to my body just felt wild and uncontrolled, even though I know that it was doing what it needed to do. My back was so sore. I wish that Nick knew a little bit more about like counter pressure, because at a certain point he did like do some counter pressure on my back, and that helped so much, but most of the time I was doing it by myself. And I guess I was like arching my back, which I didn't know. I didn't even know what was happening to me. And eventually someone like told me not to arch my back. I don't know if it was my midwife or probably my midwife. So I actively tried to not arch my back like that or round out my back. So I tried to keep it like in line at that point, and that did help a lot. And I'm like, I wish someone had told me that sooner. So there was just a lot of things in the moment that I think people could have helped me a lot more, and it would have been a lot better of an experience, but everything I think was happening so fast. I don't know, there just wasn't enough time. It was planned to be unmedicated, and it was unmedicated, but even if I planned to get an epidural, there wouldn't have been time because it was so fast. But I was planning to go natural, and natural I did, which I don't regret. It was extremely painful and not a fun experience for me whatsoever, but knowing how he came out and that there wasn't any interference with him being like drowsy or anything like that. My midwife even said she just loves like the response of the babies that she delivers naturally. She just loves it. And I'm glad I could do that and not have, I could walk around. Just, I liked not having the medication personally for a lot of different reasons, even though it was extremely painful. After I finally pushed him out, I was expecting relief from the pain. That did not come. I had a 2nd-degree tear, and so that was extremely painful. I had a lot of stitches. I remember her stitching me up, and that was extremely painful as well. And my whole body was just like shaking for probably like the 20 minutes that it took for her to stitch me up. Just like literally like everything on me was like shaking. My legs were shaking, my hand was shaking. It was just like my whole body was just like, I was out of control. I was not in control of what my body was doing. I did get my skin to skin time with him immediately. Delayed cord clamping. Nick cut the cord, and honestly, I just remember still being in so much pain and just like in shock, like of what just happened, that I wasn't able to like fully focus on him. And I just felt super disconnected. Like my mind was just like, what just happened? My body obviously was like convulsing. It was not a fun time. So there's a lot of other like little things that happened that I probably just won't share. It just, my birth, it wasn't a beautiful experience of what I thought it would be and was hoping it would be. I think I envisioned and had heard like so many other Christian moms have a really beautiful experience like with them and their baby and the Lord in it. And I think I just felt like everything moved too fast for me to even experience birth the way that I thought I would. And I really wanted to see like, you know, what God's design for it all was. I wanted to experience it in the way that God designed it and find beauty in it. And I just wasn't experiencing that. There was a lot of just like, honestly, like kind of trauma from it. I wasn't able to really rest or sleep because every time I closed my eyes, I'd just get like sucked back into that moment, and it terrified me. And so that was really really hard. I was finally able to just like connect with him more, like once we were out of the labor room and into the recovery room, postpartum room. It's funny because I like had this idea of what the hospital would be like. I had a big old bag packed of things, and I did not use any of them except for my toothbrush. Yeah, literally nothing. I stayed in the hospital gown because I just felt gross. It was just not the experience that I anticipated. But having said all of that, having said it definitely wasn't like this super positive thing that I look back on and just like love, I look back on it and see so much more now. Like the further away I get from it, I see so much more that I wasn't able to see, and just like God truly did get me through the toughest thing I've ever experienced. It was so hard. I remember thinking I have no more strength left. Like I was at like the end, asking like, am I close? Am I close? Are we almost done? Are we almost done? Like I remember just like pleading, being like, I don't know how much longer I can do this. And if I'm not close, like it's just not gonna happen. That's what I felt like. To have this little baby and to connect more and more with him every single day really makes all of that, it gives it a different perspective. Like I'm looking through it in the lens of like, that led me to him. That labor of love led me to him. And the more I get to know him and the more I spend time with him, it makes it worth it, you know? Whereas like at the beginning, I don't know if other mothers feel like it's hard to connect with your baby because you don't really know them yet. They've been inside of you, but you've never seen them. You've never touched them. I think it's really difficult. It was difficult for me to just connect and think that what I just went through was worth it, even though like I knew in my mind, yes, it was worth it. I have this beautiful baby. When you start to get to know your baby more and more, it really does put things into a different perspective, that you look at it and you see the reason why. You see that labor of love is bringing you this baby and they're changing your life. And literally he is changing my life. He changed my life the moment I conceived him, like no joke. Is changing my life so much more outside the womb. He changed my life a ton when he was inside me. Like literally I changed so much as a person. But I didn't even know I could change so much more in such a short amount of time now that he's outside of the womb. Like it's so worth it to not only have him and to see him, but also to see how he is impacting my life, how he's making me a better person, how the Lord has intended parenthood to really like change and refine you as a person. I love this new role of being a mom because it has made me see so much more about what God's design is for like motherhood and womanhood and just taking care of a child. I feel like God's given me this like level of love and compassion and care that I've never experienced before having him. I think I had said this on an Instagram story, but like, it's not to be conceited, but I love me as a mom. I love the person that I am becoming because of him. I truly believe that like God had my best interest in mind when he decided to give me this baby, and he, took my fears, and even though birth was still scary for me, there's a lot of healing in it as well, and I think God is gonna do a lot of healing in my life. So that's kind of about my birth. There's a lot of processing and emotions that I still need to go through. Trying to have a balance between I did not love my birth experience while simultaneously being thankful for it, if that makes sense. In my mind, trying to grasp how those two can coexist, because I don't want to romanticize what happened because it was not fun, but being thankful for it because of the outcome. And I think that's what's so different about the pain of labor, childbirth, is there's a prize. There's a goal at the end, you get your baby, whereas like there's so many pains and physical pains that we go through in life that you get nothing out of it. I had horrible sciatica during my pregnancy that left me bedridden. I couldn't walk, I could barely breathe, I could barely stand. It was so painful for nothing, for no reason. I was just experiencing pain to experience pain. Whereas labor, I was experiencing that pain for a reason, for a purpose. There was something at the end and that made it worth it, if that makes sense. But there's a lot of pain that we go through that there's nothing at the end of it. I asked to see if anyone had questions just about birth or postpartum, so I'm going to answer a couple of those. Did you give birth naturally or medically? And like I answered that, naturally. Where to find community online when pregnant? I would not be a great person to ask that to because I really wasn't online or on any social medias for the majority of my pregnancy. Like I said, I just got back on Instagram like maybe a month before I had him. I wasn't really online while I was pregnant, so I was just mainly focusing on friends in real life, community at church. Can't really answer the online aspect. How do you cope with the lack of sleep? The first week was really tough. I remember waking up to feed, because you have to wake up to feed so much at the beginning. And I would just be like that, like, and I hate that feeling where you're just like falling asleep and it's just like, it's physically hard to stay awake. Honestly, by the grace of God, we got through that. It was really difficult. We also had family staying with us, which helped. There was a couple days I was able to take like a cat nap. And when I say cat nap, it was very short because he would need to feed again. So I wasn't able to ever get a good stretch of sleep. Maybe max an hour nap. Definitely not what I would have preferred. Now he's sleeping much better. So he, even last night, I think he slept 4 hours straight, which is great. Love that for both of us. And then someone asked, is there change in friendships after the baby? I feel like yes, in the sense that I feel more, I feel more connected to my friends who have kids, which most of my friends have kids. And so now I feel like I can relate to them. I can talk to them about some of these things that I never was able to talk to them about. And so I feel like it's made me connect with most of my friends on a deeper level. On the opposite spectrum, my friends that don't have kids, which there aren't as many, I do feel like it's this interesting dynamic of, this is obviously the main thing that's going on in my life right now, is dealing with this newborn. And I know that they, because like myself, I didn't understand it, they don't understand that yet. I don't necessarily feel like the things that I would be talking about, they could relate to. And so I guess in that way, it is harder for me to just reach out to those friends as much. Depends on the friends. Some of them are just great regardless, even if they don't totally understand. But I do feel like my friendships with others that have kids has truly deepened because of this just like understanding of, I've been there, I know what it's like, I can help you, I can pray for you, and just like opened up a whole new community of people that I never could relate to before. So I feel like my friendships have actually deepened because of the baby. Those are some of the questions that you guys asked. Thank you for asking them. So I guess I'll just end by saying, like, I do want to film some vlogs, which is probably going to be the easiest for me to film because, like I said, even just this sit down video has been a challenge. So I don't know how vlogs would be, but I feel like that might be a little bit more manageable. I say that now and now I'm like, oh, I don't know, vlogs can be difficult as well. I do want to film, but if you want to stay more up to date with little things, I do kind of do little vlog type things on my Instagram stories. So you'll be able to see this little guy a little bit more frequently. Just because it's easier for me to manage that right now. Thank you guys so much for watching. And Elliot says, thank you for watching. He also says, thank you so much for your prayers because literally the Lord answered and he is such a perfect baby. I could not ask for a better baby. So thank you guys so much for praying for him in the womb, that he would be safe and healthy because he totally is, and God is good. Sorry for the long video. Sorry for it being all over the place. But that does give you a little bit of glimpse into the life of being a new mom. Love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video.